приглашаю следующего спикера. Кто пользовался когда-нибудь либо слышал о компании Criteo? А кто считает, что она вот за 3 года последних так закрутила этот продукт, что он стал гораздо проще и полезнее? Можете поднять руку? Отлично. Я приглашаю на сцену человека, который отвечает за улучшение продукта, за все операционные вопросы. Это Chief Operational Officer Criteo, Andreas Misera. И он нам расскажет о том, как у них получилось улучшить возвратность маркетинговых инвестиций Озона в 1,5 раза и для ФОПа на 210%. Предлагаю поаплодировать Андреасу.
Здравствуйте! Как дела? This is what I said 2 years ago when I was here, and it's great to get this conference again. Sorry, but my Russian hasn't improved, so I'm going to do everything in English again. I hope this works for you, though. I'm going to talk about artificial intelligence and how to use it in advertising to make more money and have less work, which of course sounds amazing, sounds like magic, a bit like an Annie's presentation. It is stuff that can be done sometimes very easily. Before we go to AI, so by the way, I'm going to say AI all the time instead of artificial intelligence. It's just easier to say. Before we get there, let's look at big data, because it's a very important component. Big data is something that all of you have heard about, and it's been mentioned a couple of times before today. What does it actually mean, though? And there's a very short video to just give you an insight or maybe a reminder of what big data means. I hope the video playing works. Okay. Usain Bolt, the running angels running. Here he comes. Usain Bolt, challenged by Tyson Gale. Usain Bolt, 2 kilometers. So this was not an advertising video for Usain Bolt, even though he was a great sporter, of course. But this video was shown here, is in the slide, because it lasts 10 seconds. And the concept is to look at what happens on the internet in those 10 seconds. A lot of stuff happens all the time on the internet. I'm not going to look at these numbers in detail now. One favorite is YouTube. In those 10 seconds, 23,000 hours of video were watched in 10 seconds, which is quite a lot. And of course, in those 10 seconds, while I explained this, 225 gigabytes of data were transferred over the internet. So it's a lot of data. It's a big volume and a lot of different types of data involved as well. To give you an insight of what Criteo is doing in 10 seconds, we get 40 million XP requests, we have more than 6 million RTB bids, and we show more than 400,000 banners in those same 10 seconds. How much data do we process? Just to give you an insight on how much big data means at Criteo. Every day we create around 600 terabytes of data. Now, terabytes sounds very big, sounds a lot. It sounds like a couple of hard drives, but what does this mean in real life? To make it simple, if you print this data, you have 162 billion pages. These pages weigh 81 million kilograms, which is as much as 13,500 elephants. So every day we collect data that, if printed, weighs as much as 13,500 elephants. It would be a lot of elephants if we could do that, of course. So this is big data. Why am I mentioning big data again? Because big data is important for doing artificial intelligence. I'm going to look at AI now. I'm going to look at what people's expectation and people's perception is, what people think of AI, what they expect from AI, and also what the definition of AI actually is. So what's the expectation? This could be how AI is used at some point in the future. It's a very, very positive way. You might have seen this before. It's from a sci-fi show called Star Trek. Maybe you've seen it, I don't know. It's a very optimistic, very positive point of view. AI is used here for pretty much everything in life that today is done manually and by work. So all you have to do is research, enjoy life, because your food gets prepared, traveling is easy, everything is done with AI. It's very positive, it's very nice. Maybe we will be there at some point. Who knows? Hopefully, though. Another view and expectation, perception of AI is this. It is the idea that automation is getting really big in life. So everything that happens now, that's being done now, is automated and decided by AI. People don't really have very much of free will. They don't have to do anything, but they don't decide anything either. This was nicely described in an American book called Play a Piano, and when I looked at this to build these slides, I saw that there's a book called Me, a Russian book, that I heard everybody here has to read in school, which is very nice. The same book same content, basically automation takes over. So this is a less optimistic look and perception at AI. It might happen. Another view, of course, is this one that I'm assuming many of you have seen. It's from another sci-fi thing. This is, of course, pretty catastrophic and pretty pessimistic. It is where AI rules the world and kills all of humanity, which I hope will not happen at any point. Of course, it would only happen if anybody gives the AI a target to kill all of humanity, which I hope no humans will do. So this is not very realistic, but it's an interesting view, an interesting perception of what AI might mean at some point in the future. So this might be the future, but summary of this, we're not there yet. Where are we today in real life with AI? I got 2 examples for that. One example, the AI future is used by something called SpaceX. It's a company that you might have heard of as well. A guy called Elon Musk is a bit involved. It's a company that does personally financed space travel. Now they have this great new concept that a rocket goes up, which it has done for decades, but also goes down like this and lands standing up, which is really complex from a physical point of view, of course. To get this done, you have to do a lot of control, a lot of parameters, a lot of definition of how things should work. This cannot be done by a human, quite simply. It's far too complex to do this, to make this work, to do it manually. So without AI, this will not be possible. Another example, which is much closer to maybe your lives in the future, is from the US as well. Ford is doing a test in Florida where they have self-driving cars delivering pizza, which I think is a great idea because it makes things easier. But of course it also needs AI, because without AI the car can't drive itself, which is quite logical. It's a very interesting test because every time there's a new task, a new delivery to be done, the target is different. It's a different address, and Miami is not a small place. And it has different environments as well, because traffic changes all the time. So AI has to be really, really smart to get this done as well. Very interesting real-life test, I think. Now on to the definition. What is AI? Let's look at the wording, and this is a very English language thing now. The meaning of artificial and intelligence. Artificial is quite simple. Artificial means made by humans, or made in some way to copy something or to create something that is not natural. That's the main meaning of artificial. There's a couple of interesting synonyms: affected, mannered, forced, pretended. All very true, but the main thing is it's created by humans and it is not natural. Now the word intelligence is the most interesting one, I think, here. One meaning, of course, is the ability to acquire and apply knowledge and skills. So being intelligent, what's in our brains basically, intelligence. But there's more meanings in the English language. One meaning is military or political information. Another meaning is people collecting this information. So people collecting information, military or political, which is very different to being smart in our heads. There's an interesting agency in the US called the Central Intelligence Agency, that you might have heard of before as well. This is not called Central Intelligence Agency because it's only made of intelligent people. I'm pretty sure they are intelligent as well. But it's called CIA because what they do is collect and use information. So it's a very, very clear example of where the word comes from. Synonyms as well: information, statistics, knowledge, reports. This is all synonyms of the English word intelligence, which, as far as I know, is different to intellect. Intellect, if I understand correctly, in Russian is very much like the German Intelligenz, or the French word for it as well, which is very much about people being smart. What might this mean together then? Artificial intelligence. It might mean a system built by humans, so artificial, for the collection of information and to acquire and apply knowledge. This is, in reality, usually how AI is being used. It does not mean it's something artificial that is really intelligent. It's about collecting data, having a target, and achieving the target with the data. So it's different than, it's a different word. Искусственный интеллект. I hope that was understandable. We'll see. The meaning of AI in textbooks is something like this: a study and design of intelligent agents, where the agents, you can read this yourself, The agent basically takes an action to achieve a goal. This is the definition. It's very clear, it's very well defined, it's not being intelligent. Another interesting meaning is AI is whatever hasn't been done yet. This is something that in my life actually happened a lot, because when you think of things that were done by AI 10, 15 years ago, today these are not seen as something AI does. For most people out there, AI is a system that does something that hasn't been done yet, that can't be done automatically yet. If it's been done for 10 years, it's not AI, it actually is AI. Machine learning is a part of AI, of course, and a lot of things today and have been working with machine learning and AI for many, many, many years, but aren't really seen as AI. And last quote from a colleague in Paris: understanding the past allows us to predict the future. This is really how AI is used a lot. Looking at historical data, make predictions to understand what the future might be like. Another fact with data and AI is if you have more data and you have smarter AI, you have better predictions. So more data means AI works better, basically, can achieve better prediction results. It also means you can do better personalization, and that was interesting in the presentations before me, so Svetlana's and Anya's presentations. Personalization and being user-centric was a very important part as well. Personalization only works well with AI because you have a lot of users. If you have 20 million users, you can't manually do personalization, right? This only can be done really well with a lot of data and using AI. And of course, with good prediction, you can do better performance in the end. And the important part, with more data and good AI, you can do performance at scale. You can do a lot of good performance. So AI, as I'm saying like 10,000 times now, is the future. What is the present? And why do we have today a lot of manual work if we already have AI that we produce? Let's look at this in a bit more detail. Most online marketing, so most of what you guys here at this conference do, is built in mainly two types, CPC and CPM. So this is what you pay when you do advertising. But of course you want to pay for something to have success, to have a successful campaign, for example. And to measure success, there are lots of KPIs that can be measured. And experience tells us that many different campaigns have many different success KPIs that people are looking at. It could be something simple like CTR or cost per order. It could be cost of sales. It could be fairly new cost per install when you have an app install campaign. It could just be the number of sales, you just want to sell a lot of things. It could be the revenue, so you want to sell a lot of things while making a lot of money. It could be the return on ad spend. Lots of different KPIs, and there's far more than these. I just picked a couple of examples to make it simple. And to achieve these KPIs, many people in our industry do a lot of manual work today. There's some examples of manual work you need to do to achieve these KPI targets. You have to build an audience, for example, which is tricky. You have to, in many countries, you have to buy a lot of traffic via RTB, which is very technological and very smart, but still tricky. You have to have banners with a certain content, and of course you have to define which CPM or which CPC am I happy to spend to achieve my targets. Lots of manual work. Let's look at some examples of how this could be done by better and with less manual work, by using AI. So, the audience part. Target your profiles with AI. What does that mean? To create an audience, you have a lot of work to do. You have to define the data you want to use. If your audience is, as we've seen in the presentation before, is women 25 to 34, you might just buy social demographic data and say, okay, this audience is mainly these women in this age group, which is fine. Location is important as well, for example. You can buy data, you can use data. Not the worst way of doing things. Once you have the data, you have manual work to set up campaigns. You might have several campaigns because you have several audience target groups. A lot of work. This also limits scale, and that is quite an important point here, because the audience that you get from some data you buy somewhere might be great audience, good customers, but it might not fit what you actually want to do. For example, if you pick women 24 to 35, sorry, 25 to 34, and I might be a relevant audience because I might want to buy something for Christmas for my wife. So I might be a good audience for a certain campaign here, but I'm not in this age group, I'm not a woman either. So this is something where buying the audience does not hit me, and I might be the right guy for that. So you can't really scale as well as you would like to. Using AI makes a lot of things easier, and using data, obviously. You have to define the profile and the audience based on behavior that you want to target. You can do a lookalike audience, so you say, I have my core audience, these are like 500,000 users, and I want to get lookalikes based on this, so people with the same kind of behavior. You can do interest audiences or intent audiences, like in the Avito case, people that are looking for an apartment. So this is an audience that's interested in this, and you can target them with doing profile behavior-based audience building with AI. And this is something you can't do manually again, because there's millions of people out there. Russia's a big country. This works well for targeting known users and finding them again. This works well for finding new users if you have your core audience and want to get additional lookalikes or interest audiences. The scale depends on the reach you get by buying the inventory. Second example, RTB buying. What you can do is you can set your max bid with AI. So when you buy RTB today through some simple tool, you set your bid. You say, okay, for this campaign, I'm happy to bid for €1. Of course, I'm going to use euros, not rubles, sorry. I'm going to bid with a €1, and that's it for the whole campaign. This bid manually means that you have the same bidding value for each user, independent of how much the user is worth to you and how much you think he will react to this campaign. To work more efficiently, use AI. If you have more data, AI can predict better, as I mentioned before. If you apply more prediction, you know the user's behavior better, so you actually have a good idea of what the user will do or will most likely do. You do a prediction when he sees the campaign, so you have a much better idea of how much it should be worth to you to buy the inventory for this user. So you know the value of the impression, which means you know the value of the bid. So if you bid separately for each impression for each user, you can be much more efficient, and you can, of course, scale better as well. Here's an example of a formula that we use at Criteo. I'm not going to go into detail here, it's far too complicated. This is only an example, by the way. But yes, we look at many different factors and lots of prediction. The prediction of the click-through rate, prediction of the conversion rate, prediction of the average order value for the user and the campaign, and a lot of other factors that are not on the screen, otherwise it would be really wide. This is how we determine in real time, based on AI, what the impression is worth to us and what we are willing to bid. Also, if you do this, you can do dynamic bidding, which means if you say you have a normal bid at 25 cents, if you bid less on some users because you think, oh, prediction not that good, he's not going to click maybe, so I'm going to bid less, you can bid more on other users where you see, oh, this user is really worth a lot to me. So in this example, 25 cents, there's 3 users you can bid on or you can reach. If you do dynamic bidding, you can reach 2 more that you have, where if you have to bid 29 or 36 cents, but you save money on the other users. If you add more formula, more data, more AI, you can of course make it even better. If you look at the likelihood to convert, suddenly you might want to bid 40 cents. If you look at the likelihood of spending a lot of money on your website, you might be willing and able to bid 45 cents. So saving money on one side enables you to spend money for other users. Third example, content, and going back to what Svetlana had today, which was very interesting as well. Banner content. Very many banners today are very static. Images or some text or a video. Videos are nice, but static. If you do banner content based on user behavior with AI, you can achieve a lot more results. Here's an example, a very simple example. Let's say you have 2 designs for a banner and you have a group of users. If you use design 1, you get a certain click-through rate on average. Design 2, you get a different click-through rate on average. You know, with design 2 I get 0.16%, that's better, so you might want to use design 2 for all users, which is okay. However, if you look at each user separately with AI, with personalization, with user-centric behaviors, you suddenly can decide which design to show to which user, and then you have an average of 0.19%, which is, again, a bit more, which is very efficient and works really well. So there are companies out there who do text for banners in real time with AI. There's companies, well, like us, who put products separately with different designs and different layouts into banners, etc. Using AI there makes banners work better for many, many users. Now to the fourth one, and that's the most complicated one, the CPM and CPC you're willing to spend. This has far more factors. In this case, you have to decide how much you want to pay based on the KPIs you want to achieve and a lot of steps in between. You can use something that we like calling adaptive optimization. So, in this example, you have a certain cost of sales target for your campaign, just a simple retailer campaign. You do manual revenue optimization, so there's AI involved, but every day you manually change your CPC a bit because you think, oh, this now works better, oh, now I want to spend less. And you have constantly, you work manually on making this work. With AI, you achieve a certain curve around your target cost of sales. It's actually not too bad. Good work, good person, this is nice. But if you go adaptive and use adaptive revenue optimization, you don't do anything manually. You just set your target cost of sales and then use AI more, which in the end means that, of course, you're still not reaching that cost of sales for every single user, but you're much closer to the curve, which means you have better results and you have less manual work, which I'm assuming all of you like. At least I like it. How do we work overall with big data and AI? This is just a general overview to show you that why I'm talking about this is because this is really important for us. AI is in anything we do today. So Criteo, in the beginning, of course, we collect data, lots of different types of data, hundreds of different data points, and a lot of users. As I said, 600 terabytes per day, roughly. Then, of course, we have AI. Click now, yes. We have AI that does a lot of predictions, as you saw in the formula. We predict click-through rates, conversion rates, order value, and many other things. Lots of personalization, most of this in real time, because advertising is real time. We bid based on these results, and we have banners also done by AI, with recommended products in there, with look and feel that works really well for the user. Then we show the banners, and then the user, here's an example from Africa, and then the user, of course, reacts. And this user reaction, again, is more data that we collect, and we go back to the beginning of the circle. So this is how we have big data and AI in place every second of the day. It's important to us, we're investing in this. We have something we call the AI lab. It's not a separate lab and a separate building, a separate city. It's a big team of people, mainly in Paris. We're investing 200 million euros in this for 3 years to really research more and build more AI usage, to publish stuff, to educate the industry, to contribute to the community, etc. We see AI as something really, really important that, again, works well and lets you manually work less, which is good. Summary to this, using AI in advertising works best at scale. Again, personalization means you want to scale because you have a lot of users, and this works best with AI, and the more data you have, the better AI works. Personalization is a great way to use it, and to let AI use big data. It's an interesting point. Big data has been around for many years, but without AI you can't do anything with it, because there's so much data. By doing this, you have less manual work, and you get good results. So using AI advertising makes sense. The future is very open.
Thank you very much. Давайте поаплодируем. Спасибо, Андреас. У нас есть время на один вопрос. Один вопрос. Кто хочет задать? Это уникальный человек, который постоянно улучшает эту уникальную технологию. Ребята, вы нашли? Так. Молодой человек, вот сюда нужен микрофон.
Andreas, hi.
Привет.
So right now, AI is still sort of a tool in a way, right? It's still constrained by conventional computing. But in, say, 10, 15 years with quantum computing, we'll have much greater capabilities of what it can do. And eventually it will slowly replace people in various industries, right? Some some before, some maybe a bit later, but I'm just curious, how do you see the marketing industry in, say, 30 years? Looking,
30?
well, maybe, okay, let's say 20 years. With AI, and do you see people being relevant there, and in what areas? Because there are more and more tasks that computers can objectively do quicker and better than we can.
Wow, that's a very wide question. You can compare this a bit to the last century where creation of things in machine factories replaced humans. So of course it's the same direction. This doesn't mean that people don't have a job anymore, luckily. In the end, AI will, of course, yes, be able to do more, predict more, work more, achieve more, make things easier. We will still need humans a lot though, to build the AI. AI doesn't work without building good AI. It's a lot of work to build AI, actually. And you need to give the AI targets that make sense. And again, this comes from humans. You also have humans to do a lot of analysis because there's always a lot of data connections that not every AI can easily see. Of course, this will, in 20 years, this might be done mainly by computing. You still need service, though. Service is really, really key. Everything that involves one person giving money to another person involves a relationship and service of some point. So I believe in marketing, service will still be there, creativity will still be there. Yes, there's AIs today creating pictures and videos artificially, but again, this is based on input from humans, on humans building AI, humans giving AIs target, so humans are still needed there a lot. And if you do too much with AI, then at some point it will look the same and work the same, which is not what people want really. Creativity needs to be there, decision making needs to be done by humans, communication, service, relationships. Humans are still, will in 20 years still be a very, very big part of this. Just different.
Спасибо. Спасибо, Андреас. Предлагаю поаплодировать. На самом деле, мне всегда... Сейчас мне всегда вдохновляет оптимизм, что все-таки люди должны будут кто-то настраивать, принимать решения и так далее.